Welcome back, LEGO Builders. Gigahertz Productions here, and today we have LEGO versus MOC. On the left side, we have the official LEGO set number 75292. It goes for $130 in the US. It has 1,023 pieces, and that's about 13 cents per piece. That's in US dollars again. Recommended for ages 10 and up, and has 5 minifigures. On the right side, we have the LEGO MOC by YCbrick. It's set number 33566, or at least that's the number on Rebrickable. It has 0 minifigures, but you can order custom minifigures that would probably be better than the actual LEGO one. Recommended age is 16 to 18 plus. There is 1,423 pieces and goes for $600 to about $1,000. But if you have a big LEGO collection, you can sort through your parts and reduce that cost down to about $100 to $200. So that's about 40 cents per piece to 70 cents per piece. So who will win this ultimate duel? Now if I pull up my little sheet here, we have a couple of categories that these two sets will be judged on. So a couple of the categories include playability, instructions, displayability, design, minifigures, price, and the similarity to the looks in the actual show, and my personal opinion, and then we have total. And each section is going to be out of 5. So let's begin with the official LEGO Razor Crest. Oh, and I should mention, whoever loses at the end of this duel, whoever has the least amount of points, will be destroyed. In a drop test kind of way. And if you would like to see the statistics of these two sets, I'll put up this chart on screen right now. With this LEGO MOC, it is fairly big in size, as you would expect with that $130 price tag, and taking a look around, it is fairly well detailed and a pretty solid and good set overall. Like, these engines won't be falling off anytime soon if you jostle it around or whatever. Now, first off on our chart, we have playability. And there are definitely lots of playability options on here. You can pop off the front canopy to access the small cockpit there to put in the Mandalorian. And up top, you even have this cool escape pod. So maybe we'll be seeing a use for this in Mandalorian Season 2, which should be coming out very soon. So this escape pod is a fun little feature, and you can in fact fit a minifigure in here. Okay, so let's pop this back in there. And there are 2 of these missile launches, I guess. I never really know what to call them. And you just push down on this little grill piece right here, and boom, off they go. So that is another feature, and probably one of the best features about this Razor Crest is that all of these side panels flip down, so then you can access all of this interior. And the interior doesn't really include much. It does include a couple of those people in carbonite, and it includes a spot for the Mandalorian to sleep, so there's a bed in there. Seeing as how there are lots of features on this Razor Crest, I will be giving this LEGO Razor Crest a 4.5 out of 5. Now, the next category we have here are the instructions. So, the instructions are what you would expect from LEGO. You get the paper copy with the set, and all of the steps are really easy to follow. And in general, it's a very fun and good build experience. And since LEGO's instructions are always very, very good and high quality, I'll just give them a 5 out of 5. Next up, we have displayability, and this set definitely has all of the features and kind of textures and look to it. And I mean, right away, you can definitely tell it's the Razor Crest, so it does the job well. But I am going to take half a point off, or maybe even a full point, because of these bright red chairs. They do not look very good. And I don't know why LEGO chose to go with bright red, because in the movie they're gray or brownish, and I am fairly certain of that. But otherwise, there's not really any sore spots. I mean, underneath is just kind of flat. And by sore spots, I mean like bright red colors or blue. There's a little bit of blue sticking out on the underside, but that is mainly hidden away by these engines. So probably a 4 out of 5 for displayability. Now we have the minifigures. The first minifigure up is that IG-11 droid, I believe he's called. So that's like the assassin droid, and he has the print on his head. And it is fairly similar to the previous IG-11s that we have gotten from LEGO. So there's not anything too special about this droid, but I guess you do get him in the set, and that is nice. Next up, we have the Mandalorian, and this is the second set I believe you can get him in. And it would be nice if they had like a custom blaster rather than like that brown lightsaber piece with the clip on the end with that small little pistol. And it would be nice if he had all of that Beskar armor, so the shiny silver armor. But I guess that older brown armor is okay. And around back he has that shorter style of cape, and if we lift it up, there is printing underneath that cape, which I don't really understand, but LEGO goes ahead and does it anyway. Sadly, there is no arm printing on either side, and as you would expect, the face of the Mandalorian is just black. So a fairly good figure, but it definitely needs a couple of improvements. Next we have this Scout Trooper, and he's your typical Scout Trooper with like that printing and his little pistol. And you get that printing on the back as well. But I think one of the nicest things about this Scout Trooper is that he has a dual molded helmet. And the dual molded helmets are quite nice, and they look a lot better. And the Scout Trooper no longer has that angry clone face. I mean, it is still kind of angry, but it's not the classic angry clone. And while this is quite a nice minifigure, I would have rather gotten Cara Dune in this set, or maybe even Moff Gideon. But for just looking at the minifigure itself, it is a pretty good minifigure overall. Next we have Greef Karga with his double pistols. He has a nice printing on the front, and he has that angry face, and he also has a alternate face where he is smiling. And there's a minimal print on the back, but it's kind of a gold color, which is really cool and nice to see, but it is kind of a minimal print on the back. So a nice looking figure, and I believe this is the very first Greef Karga that we've ever gotten in LEGO minifigure form. And finally, we probably have the reason that you get this set, or at least for the minifigures, we have the Baby Yoda in that baby style of minifigure. And he's what you would expect for a Baby Yoda. He has that there's a little tiny bit of printing on his torso, where he has that little jacket that he always wears, and obviously he has those big ears, and there is no printing on the back. The head does turn, just in case anybody is wondering, but the arms do not move. So he is quite a good minifigure, and obviously there's some bias because he is like the star of the show, and Baby Yoda is amazing. Or maybe I should call him the child. But oh well, Baby Yoda in this LEGO form is looking real cute and a great addition to your minifigure collection. So those are all the 5 minifigures that are included in this set. Now I would say that these are pretty good minifigures overall, so we'll be giving these minifigures a 4 out of 5. Okay, so our next category is design, and as I said earlier, this thing is pretty structurally sound, and nothing is gonna fall off really easily unless you obviously pull it because it's made out of Lego. The only thing that I would say would really fall off if you pulled on it is the windshield piece, but that is supposed to be pulled off. So for example, you could just grab it by the engine here and lift it up with just the engine. So overall, this set is pretty structurally sound. So I'll give it a 5 out of 5 for its design. Now the price. Now this set sells for $130 and has 1,023 pieces. So that's about 13 cents a piece for anyone who cares about that. So that's not a bad price to piece ratio, and I would say you get your money's worth with this set, and you get Baby Yoda. And this is the only set that has that minifigure in it, so I'd say that's well worth it. But I feel like, same with everything Lego nowadays, that it's just a little bit expensive. So I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5 for its price. Now, its looks or similarities to the show, it definitely looks like the Razor Crest. There's no denying that. But I think one place where it really lacks, again, is those red chairs. They just do not look good for being displayable, and I do not think they're accurate to the show. Otherwise, it is similar to the show that it has this kind of boarding ramp off to the side and also a boarding ramp out back. And it is similar to the show where it has those rows of people in carbonite and where the Mandalorian's bed is. And on the opposite side, there is a little compartment to store your blaster things up there. And now here is a side-by-side comparison of the Lego Razor Crest versus the actual one in the show, and as you can see, it looks quite similar, although I would have liked it if these landing gear stuck out a little bit more, because as you can see in the actual Razor Crest, they stick out a little bit more. And although these pieces up on here make these engines look nice, they're not as accurate to the show because it's like a smooth, round engine, not like these fins that we have on the Lego set. So its similarities to the show, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 because it is pretty much the same, but there are obviously going to be some differences because it is made out of Lego. Now, let's move on to the MOC and then finish with my opinion. So here is the MOC Razor Crest, and it is a fair bit bigger than the Lego version, and I would expect that for being more expensive and having more pieces, and it is fairly similar. And I think an important thing to note is that this windshield piece is not blue if you order all of the correct pieces, but me being a cheapsake opted for the less expensive version, but it had to be a blue piece instead of that dark gray. And another important thing to note is that, as you can see on the actual Rebrickable website, the Razor Crest has this darker piece, and a couple months ago, right here, there's the update. YCbrick has said that I've updated the windscreen design so the window pieces should be much easier to find and much more affordable. I also have updated a much more detailed step-by-step instruction for the improved version. If you already purchased the instruction, you can download the instruction V2 through Google Drive link I provided. Cheers. So in the previous version of the MOC, the windscreen piece up here used to be super expensive in the dark gray clear style. So I'm glad he changed that out because like this one piece was like $90. And I am also glad he changed the instructions because when I used the instructions, they were pretty bad. So those are a couple important things to note. Now moving into the chart, for playability, I'll give this MOC a 2 because there's not really too many things you can play with. There is the canopy that opens up and you can see inside and see that nice chair there, and there is a little bit of interior, but it is very difficult to get to. And the side part pops down and the back part pops down as well. So you basically have all the features of the Razor Crest. And if it's light enough, you can probably see a little bit of the interior there, but there's not a whole lot. It's just a lot of space and not too much going on. So this MOC gets a 2 for playability. Now, the instructions. The old instructions, I would probably have given a 1 or a 0.5 because they were very bad. But since YCbrick did change the instructions to be much better, I am willing to give it a 5 out of 5. Now, displayability. This set is much bigger than the actual LEGO version, so I would say it earns more points for displayability because with things like LEGO models and sets, when it's bigger, it's more impressive, and if you're like showing it off to your friends. So I'm gonna give this set a 5 out of 5. Another reason for the 5 out of 5 is that it looks very much like the Razor Crest, and obviously if you have the gray windshield then it would look a lot more like the Razor Crest. So 5 out of 5 for that. Now the design. This is where the Razor Crest starts to lack a little bit, because these pieces on the side, they fall off really easily. And these engines, they're not quite as sturdy as the LEGO ones. And you may have noticed that the landing gear is taken off, and one reason for that is I didn't have the right pieces, and I forgot to order them. But another reason is that the landing gear pops off quite easily, and it's a pain to put back on. So for the design of this Razor Crest, it's only gonna be getting a 3 out of 5. Now the minifigures. Now this model in particular does not come with any minifigures, so naturally it would get a 0. But you can order custom minifigures that are much more accurate and better than the LEGO versions. So an example here is the custom Mandalorian, who has that custom blaster, so it looks much more like the real version. And it also has the Beskar armor, so you're getting a lot more detailed and closer to the actual show version of that Mandalorian. So for minifigures of this one, I would give it a 0 for the actual set, but you can order minifigures that are much better, so you could be getting a 5 instead. Now the next category price is another iffy one, because if you have parts in your LEGO collection and you can sort them out and find the right pieces for this Razor Crest, you can drastically reduce the cost to about $100 to $200 of parts that you're gonna have to order. And if you have all the parts, then you can reduce it down to $0 that you have to order. But when you look at the actual Rebrickable website, down at the bottom it gives you options for buying parts, and this usually is around $1,000, so it's super expensive, and I wouldn't recommend using this. I would recommend going and looking around for your own parts, and it takes a lot longer, but you will save a lot of money. And if you do have a LEGO collection, I recommend using parts from it, because you're almost certain to have at least some parts to this Razor Crest in your LEGO collection. So price, if you go for the full ordering all the parts, it's pretty expensive, so it could be like a 2, but I'm gonna give it a 4, because if you search around and find cheap pieces like I did, then you can be getting it for about $100 to $200, which is almost the same price as the LEGO version, and this one is much bigger. Now for the next category, looks or similarities to the show. Now, again, it definitely looks like the Razor Crest, so there's no disputing that, but the front part, this windshield, is not quite as bubbled out as the actual Razor Crest in the show, but versus the LEGO version, it does have a nicer cockpit area here with this seat, and these parts on the engines here are smoother and look a lot more like the actual Razor Crest. So I think it's going to be getting the exact same rating as the LEGO version, so it'll be getting a 4. Now, before I get into my opinion, let's just put these two Razor Crests side by side so you can kind of get a comparison of size. So here are the two Razor Crests side by side, and if I pulled them up to be in the same position, like up front, so they're the same line, the engines on the LEGO version are much more forward, and the engines on the MOC version are a little bit further back. And if we bring this camera up and look above, the MOC version is a lot fatter and kind of squished at the back, and the Lego version is a lot longer at the back. So here's a quick glimpse from directly above. And now if we move these Razor Crests around, here is a look at it from the side. Both of these Razor Crests are about the same length, and just the MOC one is a lot fatter at the back. Now to bring up the sheet, my personal opinion is kind of split. So if you're the average person and you're getting this to like play with and to display, this Lego set here has like all the features, and it's a good all-around set. So it can be displayed and it has a lot of features. Plus it also has minifigures and is a lower cost than this Razor Crest. Now the advantages to getting this Razor Crest is for displaying. So it's like the same reason why you would get the UCS A-Wing versus like the Playscale A-Wing. It just depends what you want to do with it. So this one would be better for display, and this one is better for play. And now moving a little bit away from these two Razor Crests, you don't have to get this Razor Crest in particular. In fact, you could get this version of the Razor Crest, and this version is by Playability, and this set here is absolutely massive. It has 4,000 pieces to it, and if we look at a picture that they have here of it beside the UCS Slave 1, you can just see how massive it is. But let's move back to the Razor Crest that I have. So, for my final opinion, I like the Razor Crest by YCbrick better because I just think of all the work someone has to go to design and build something like this. And it's quite amazing, where, I mean, Lego obviously have to do the same thing, but they have an entire design team, where this is built by probably just one person. And for my purposes, I do like displaying things better than playing with them. So, for me, I'm going to give the MOC Razor Crest a 5 out of 5 for my opinion, and the Lego one a 3.5. So now, who is going to win this Lego versus MOC? Okay, now the final scores are tallied up, with the Lego version coming in at 34.5 out of 40, and the MOC version came in at 33 out of 40. So the Lego version won by 1.5 points. So, get ready for the main event, because this Razor Crest is going to be smashed.
Y'all ready for this?